Moving along to the ACAC, Leo essentially clinches a championship. We knew they clinched at least a share of it, but by the game in Penedo, you're talking about Southern Wells beating Heritage 12-7 a game, which most people, I would think, thought the Patriots would win. So 4 teams in that conference are 4-2. Leo 6-0. They're the champions heading into this week. I know you're not surprised because that's the team that you picked, right. But are you surprised at the dominance that they've had in the ACAC?
Well, I guess I shouldn't be, but a little bit I am. You never knew what to expect with Leo coming into this season because they played so many young kids last year, but those kids really grew and developed, and offensively, weren't they just a juggernaut all year? I mean, they put 21 unanswered on Garrett last week before Garrett even knew what hit him. And so Leo, my goodness, they've just been so strong offensively. Connor Kasser had over 170 yards last week. Zach Stilson ran for almost 100, and they only threw 4 passes on the night. So, you know, they just took care of the ball. They managed the clock. They ran the ball because they could, and that's been their kind of mantra all year. And give credit to the Lions. They really had an outstanding season this year. And Coach Sauter took over, 4 years ago, and he's kind of been building this program each year. Well, congratulations. You're to the mountaintop now.
Yeah, and talking about that, how ready is this team going to be for the playoffs? Because when you talk about 3A sectionals around here, with Harding moving up this year and some other teams moving up as well, like Jimtown, I mean, it's going to be hard to get out of the state in 3A.
It's going to be very difficult. Some of the most difficult sectionals in the state are right here in this area. And so what you've done in the regular season really holds no bearing on what happens once you get into tournament play. It's a brand new season, and the teams that are down look at it that way. The teams that are up may overlook some of those teams that are down. So, you know, congratulations on getting something done during the regular season, but come sectional time, it matters nothing.
Are you surprised at how balanced Leo is, because they do have the #1 offense in conference and the #1 defense? Or is that something that feeds off of each other?
Well, no, I was a bit surprised by it. And again, they played so many young kids last year on both sides of the ball, you just didn't know what to expect from them. But obviously their coaching staff has done a great job in the off-season developing these kids in the weight room and doing their 7-on-7 drills in the summer and that sort of thing. So, yeah, it's a bit surprising, but nobody's going to be surprised by Leo next year, I can tell you that.
All right, moving on to the NECC. This is one of those conferences where the title is still very much up for grabs here in the final week of the season. Lakeland 7-0 in conference, Fairfield 7-1, beating Busco last week, and Busco 6-1, suffering that loss at home to Fairfield 24-22. This weekend's game, or excuse me, this Friday's game at Lakeland, obviously Lakeland's got a great defense. What's Busco going to have to do to win a conference championship?
Well, they're going to do what they want to do, and that's run the ball and not turn the ball over. And when you run the ball, that's the key, is not turning the ball over. And they've got to whittle the clock down and keep Lakeland off the field. And but it's going to be very difficult. Lakeland's undefeated in this league, so if they win, then they win the conference. If Cherubusco can upset them, then you've got Fairfield, who's already done with conference play, Lakeland and Cherubusco in a 3-way tie. But Cherubusco only knows one thing, and that's running the ball, and that's what they're going to try to do to manage the clock. Run the ball, don't turn it over, and hopefully your defense can control a very potent Lakeland offense that not very many people have stopped this year.
Yeah, and the Lakeland defense giving up only 57 points so far this season. What is it about their defense that has allowed them to be successful? And then on what could be a very muddy Friday night again, how do you control a Busco offense that has Kyle Mathewson, who went for 319 a couple weeks ago, Jordan Hamilton, who's gone for 100 the past couple games?
Well, what you'll see is Cherubusco running to the outside more and trying to get into grass, because the middle of the field is such a muddy mess. If you're just going to try to pound the ball up the middle, you're going to have a hard time running the ball. So you'll see a lot of sweeps and misdirection plays that get to the outside. But the problem with that is Lakeland is very quick defensively. They're very sound. They don't make a lot of mistakes. And so it's going to be a chore for Cherubusco to be able to do that. But look for them to really do a lot of outside work to get out of the mud, to get some traction on the grass.
And how do you see this one shaking out? I think most people would think Lakeland might be able to take this one just based on the sheer points that they've been able to keep off the board this year.
Well, sticking with the local team, I would like to see Cherubusco win, but I really don't think that's going to happen. Lakeland's undefeated in conference play for a reason, and that's because they've been the best team. So I would be very shocked if Cherubusco were able to overcome a loss to Fairfield and then knock off Lakeland. I think Lakeland's that good.
All right, so the SAC championship has been decided, The ACAC championship has been decided, but the NHC title is up for grabs, as well as the NACC title up for grabs this Friday night. Of course, he'll have you covered throughout the week, and of course on Friday and Saturday mornings. I'll have you covered here on Friday night on the Highlight Zone, but that'll do it for this week's edition of Inside the Zone. Thanks for logging on to Wayne.com.